it's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Cinematic Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is where three guys' love for film takes you through the history of cinema. And joining me, as always, Luke. Thank you for joining me.
Pleasure to be here.
And Adam.
Nice to see you gentlemen once again.
Absolutely. And we're going to college. Like I ever left. Because I work at one. And no, I didn't leave. I've been at the same university for the last 15 years.
You just held back, yeah?
I've never had to go back because I never left. But we're going to be talking. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, dude. Like, I'm just going to be piece taken. You like Ryan Reynolds in Van Wilder, right? You just don't want to leave.
Except at this point, I get paid. So, unlike him, who was just a student for however the hell long. But no, my college experience was nothing as crazy, wild, or interesting as Van Wilder. Just for the record, my friends and I would sit there playing Yu-Gi-Oh in the lounge of our dorm all afternoon when I was a freshman. What were you doing as a freshman? Getting alcohol poisoning other people here in America? So I'm a nerd. So
making
whatever.
Cream buns for the frats.
I promise you all, the freshman is not that interesting in terms of what this student gets up to. But we will be talking about the Harold Lloyd film. But we usually start off with some film history, and it is 1925. So let's get started. So most of the major Hollywood motion picture studios had been established by this point, including the Big Five: Warner Bros., Fox, later known as 20th Century Fox, RKO, Lowe's Inc., which would go on to be MGM, Paramount, and the little three: United Artists, Universal, and Columbia. And all of these studios used Thomas H. Ince's efficient and profitable filming factory system. Gotta keep those conveyor belts of movies coming.
Gotta crank them up, yep.
Yeah.
Gotta crank them up. But I didn't realize that Universal and Columbia were a couple of like the little ones. Universal's like, look who's standing now. So, and then actually, real quick, so Warner Brothers still a thing for now, until David Zaslav
changes it for tax purposes.
Right, it closes it, writes it off for tax purposes.
It's just Warner now, not Brothers. It's just Warner, okay?
Fox is owned by Disney. RKO is not a thing. MGM is an Amazon company now. And quick side note,
the James Bond company
is now going to pour out James Bond.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Barbara, I get it. But you left Bond in the hands of a madman. So at least we're going to get a James Bond movie probably within
2 years.
Watch 3 months.
25 minutes. Yeah.
Paramount's still a thing for now. I'm not convinced that's going to be its own studio for that much longer. And then, UA isn't around anymore, and all their theaters got bought out by Regal, or I guess Cineworld, depending on where you're from. Universal's still going. They got Illumination. They got that Minions money. So
Universal is strong, yeah.
Yep. They must be so happy with that.
They're like, our studio's been saved by yellow pill gibberish speaking monster things. Banana. And then Columbia is a Sony company, which, how does Sony still have a movie studio? Like, I felt like they should have probably sold that off a while ago, but Disney will buy it. And then,
or Amazon.
I think Disney will buy it for Spider-Man and 100% reason. But anyway, So we have the great Russian filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein directed Battleship Potemkin, a film celebrating the 20th anniversary of an unsuccessful Russian revolution in 1905, and a portrait of mutiny aboard, battleship named Potemkin. His influential film, considered one of the greatest of all time, premiered at Moscow's Bolshoi Theater. The landmark film effectively established the dialectic film montage technique, especially in the Odessa Steps sequence, copied later in tribute in films like Brazil, The Untouchables, and comically in Naked Gun 33 and a Third, The Final
Wow.
Insult. As an important and innovative structural method to evoke a dramatic response from a juxtaposition of two clashing film shots. Nonlinear editing in feature films such as Pulp Fiction use this stylistic technique in this film. They got through
Mm-hmm.
that
Wow.
whole entire blurb without talking about Russian Revolution and referencing, look,
Mm.
Russia now. So,
Yeah.
but
Yep,
Mm.
Potemkin is a really impressive film for something that was
it
made in
is.
1925. And if this wasn't going to mention it, I 100% was going to mention The Untouchables, because we know Brian De Palma likes Battleship Potemkin.
Oh, 100%.
Um, as I look at my 4K of The Untouchables over here, because I love that shit. Which keep an eye out because one of my upcoming episodes of the Wasteland Vintage Roadshow will be indeed The Untouchables. This is synergy, folks. Shameless
Nice.
plugs all around. So we have the epic silent film Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ was released. It cost a record-setting $3.95 million to produce. I wonder how much that is in money now.
Hmm.
But the blockbuster for MGM grossed $9 million on its first release. It was notable for the use of hanging miniature to fill the upper tier proportion of the Colosseum with fake spectators for the famed chariot race sequence. It also contained some two-color Technicolor sequences, including the triumphant processional sequence. I like how
Wow.
they left out that they actually killed horses making this movie. I guess
Yeah.
that's bad. I guess that's bad publicity that they didn't
Hmm.
want to include in the article. Um, the Ben-Hur from 1959 is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
It's a
So
great
I
one.
own this one on a giant, thick box set of
Oh yeah.
that Ben-Hur. So that's a lot of money
Did
for
you say 3.9?
1925. $3.95 million.
9.5. Okay, because I'm on a calculator, inflation calculator. So,
So what do we got, Luke?
yep. So 5. Okay, so 50. Cool. So in 1925, 3.95 million. Now in 2025 would give you 71,700, 71,700,000. So cumulative rate of inflation
It's a
is
mid-budget movie now.
1,715.
Yeah, that's not
That's a
crazy.
mid-budget. When you
Yeah.
think that did you say it made $9 million?
Mm.
That's a
So,
lot of money when a movie probably only cost a dime to get into, right? Like how much
mhm.
would it cost? That's
Well,
Well,
a
and
that's
this is
why.
lot of
why
money.
you should look at ticket sales.
Yes.
When you look
Yeah.
at highest grossing films of all time, because like,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, that's insane. Like, how many
Yep.
tickets did they have to sell to make $9 million
And that's why
when?
Gone
Yeah.
with the Wind is still the number one selling movie of all time because not
Yep.
Yep.
only it earned so much, but like again,
Mm.
when you as you pointed out, Adam, the tickets were like what 50 cents, maybe if that, in
Yep.
1939. So like,
Yeah,
how
Yeah.
many
and
people have
people
seen that
really did
movie?
love looking back at the quote unquote good old days.
Oh, good old days.
And but there's another factor there is that they
Yeah,
made 70 movies a year, not 700 as well. So there's the choices were narrow. There was no TV. So if you want to
Mm,
see something, you got to go to the theater, right?
I
So
could
yes,
confirm that it's even more than 700 a year at this point.
yes,
It is insane the
yeah.
amount of movies that get released on a yearly basis, and most people probably couldn't comprehend. They're like, "How many movies came out last year? 20?" Because that's all they
Globally,
paid.
there'd be globally, there'd be tens of
I was gonna
thousands.
say, just all the streaming services, all the cinema, just America alone must have released like close
Just
to 1,000.
Netflix has
Yeah.
released 700 pieces of content in a single
Yeah,
year.
and three good
Because
pieces.
has very low batting average. The silent
Oh yeah.
film The Salvation Hunters, the first film made by unknown director Joseph von Sternberg, has been called the first American independent film. The low budget film was bankrolled by UA after its major shareholders, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks Sr., saw the film and were impressed by the talents of the director.
Mm,
So you go, von Sternberg.
nice.
The major Hollywood studios and their producers, comprising the Association of Motion Picture Producers, set up an organization called the Central Casting Corporation to provide a pool of extras or background actors for their increased number of film productions. It provided a consistent, organized, and systematic way for hopeful actors to find employment as extras in the film industry. This helped to curtail exploitation, reduced calls for government regulations of Hollywood deemed immoral, and helped restore Hollywood's tarnished image. And by 1946, they formed their own union called the Screen Extras Guild. But this is a very interesting piece because
Mm.
all I know is based off of, like the artist, for you to become a big star in Hollywood, you just need to be an extra and then act really big and get noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So but no, this is an interesting like self regulation that Hollywood put together, and hopefully that worked out for all of the extras. I'm assuming that at some point it wasn't that they had to form their own union. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
hopefully at least it opened up for a lot of opportunities. One of the silent film geniuses, Charlie Chaplin's classic masterpieces featuring the tramp character, was released The Gold Rush. Chaplin directed, produced, starred in, and scripted the film. It became the highest grossing silent comedy film of all time. Have either of you seen The Gold Rush?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. It's really good. It's
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really good.
it's a
Yeah.
really impressive film that still's legitimately funny now.
Mm.
Also, I would not want to be in that building. Uh,
Yep.
not a fun time. Now, Charlie Chaplin was the first film actor to ever appear on the cover of Time, the weekly news magazine, in July 6, 1925 issue. In a picture from his recently released film, The Gold Rush, he made a second appearance on the cover February 9th, 1931 issue. Good for him getting on
Yep.
the front of Time magazine, which, is only reserved for the best of humanity for sure.
Only the best. Only the
Um,
brightest. Yes.
Mm.
only those that are making really good contributions to society and humanity in general.
Mm-hmm.
1925, we continuing here, we got Universal foreshadowed their success in the horror genre with Rupert Julian's expressionistic The Phantom of the Opera, starring Lon Chaney Sr., the man of 1,000 faces, in his most notable role as the partially like when he takes that mask off, he's ghoulish, the whole face. I don't know what they're talking about,
I guess
partially
the I
disfigured.
guess the face is like half good, half disfigured, so therefore just partially, maybe.
But it's not. Now, if they were talking about the Gerard Butler one, where like a third of his face looks weird and then the rest of it's just Gerard Butler, I can get them saying partially disfigured.
Mm.
Uh, it's the Phantom of Paris Opera House. It is set the prototypical style for studios' cycle of classic horror films in the early 30s, the decades of Universal's monster movies, Dracula,
Yes.
Frankenstein, The Mummy, etc. So
Mm.
this was the dawn of the big studio horror flicks,
Mm-hmm.
and Lon Chaney Sr. certainly making a big splash, playing the Phantom of the
I
Opera.
I know is here inside my mind.
Yes, before Andrew Lloyd Webber turned it into a big cheesy rock opera, before based off of a trashy novel. Because I don't
Mm.
know if either of you have read Phantom of the Opera. It's
Nope.
not a
No.
great book. It's a really trashy book.
Mm-hmm.
But like Hey, they've made bank out of it. Just ask Andrew Lloyd Webber. And the insane amount of money that the Phantom of the Opera show has made. So
Oh,
it all
yeah.
began there. Popularity started in 1925. The first feature length dinosaur oriented science fiction film to be released was First National's The Lost World. It was also the first feature length film made in the US with the pioneering first major use of primitive stop motion animation with models for special effects.
Damn, look at our boy Steven
Wow.
Spielberg, like getting it big in 1925. I had no idea.
Yes,
Wow.
Steven Spielberg really killing it back in 1925
Yes,
with The Lost
good for
World
him.
Jurassic Park.
Good for him for not even being bored for the next 20 years or so. Good for him. Like,
Good
that's how
for
you know
him.
it's a real talent.
But it's interesting because they were originally going to use stop motion animation for Jurassic Park. What, 70 years after this, and then they're like, we have new technology. So up until that point, if you wanted dinosaurs, it was claymation all around.
Yep.
So we do love some claymation, Ray
Mm.
Harryhausen. Um, the first in-flight movie, a black and white silent film from First National titled The Lost World, was shown in a World War I converted Handley Page bomber during a 30-minute flight from London to Paris in April for Imperial Airways. It featured pioneering stop motion special effects from Willis O'Brien. So we got our first in-flight movie was 1925. What a revolution for cinema.
Damn. So, like,
Uh,
literally 100 years ago.
yeah, yes, this is 100 years ago as we're doing this particular episode. I didn't even point that out at the top of the show, but one of my favorite reviews ever was Ben Mankiewicz on What the Flick reviewing The Infiltrator starring Bryan Cranston. He's just like, the good movie. This is like the kind of movie you'd want to watch on an airplane.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just like, that is the most beautiful ringing recommendation. It's like the kind of movie you want to watch on an airplane.
And
So
there's
there you go.
definitely airplane movies. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say there's definitely like airplane movies. Yes.
They're basically Netflix movies, right?
Yep.
Where everybody talks out what they're doing so you don't have to pay attention the whole time.
Mm.
Netflix.
Love
Western
that.
Electric, yep. Western Electric and Warner Bros. Agreed to develop a system to make movies with sound. And so it
Mm.
begins.
Mm.
Yes, everybody, we're almost out of the silent era. Fritz Lang's UFA production of Die Nibelungen Siegfried adaptation of the North sagas premiered in the US in New York City in 1925, introducing the short lived synchronized phonofilm sound on film process. So we're getting there, we're getting inching closer. The fan magazine Movie Weekly held a contest to provide a new name for MGM contract starlet Lucille Lesieur. MGM's publicity department had complained that her name sounded fake and like the word sewer.
Wait, so there was an
Um,
actual
the,
competition to name this future star.
so let's have a publicity stunt to name a woman. The winning
Imagine it's today, right?
Wow.
Like, imagine like, hey, we have this new starlet, like Mike, like what is her name, Madison,
Yep.
Anora.
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine
yeah.
like like somebody from studio to do it, but we don't like her, So hey, go on our Instagram page and pick which one you
Instagram poll.
yeah, pick one which one you like, and in 24 hours we gonna make her change her name. That's so wild.
So the winning name was Joan Arden, but since it duplicated another actress's name, it soon changed to Joan Crawford.
Ah.
Okay.
And then the aha moment of this weird little thing. And then Joan Crawford starred in her first film, the dramatic comedy Pretty Ladies, credited by her birth name, Lucille Lesieur.
Ooh.
And lastly, a title card in the silent epic war film The Big Parade demonstrated one of the earliest uses of a curse word in a US film, although it wasn't spoken. marched and sweat the whole damned day. They said
Oofed.
damned.
Oofed.
They need to wash their mouths out with soap. How could they? So, and there's your news, your damned news for
Your 100-year-old
1925.
yeah, your
Yeah.
100-year-old news.
Hey, this
Sorry.
news is less stressful than watching the actual news right now. So
Yes.
enjoy.
Yeah.
And we're more fun than like 99% of the people telling you the news. So enjoy. You're welcome. So now we're going to have our first ever box office segment. Very briefly, I have a few standout films from this year in terms of how much money they made. So, highlight number one, the highest grossing film of the 1920s, The Big Parade, made 18 to $22 million in
Wow.
1925.
Mm.
That's a lot.
So, if you said about 4 million was 70 million,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
350 mil.
this, well, if 4 million was 70 million, this
yep.
made 18 to 22 million. So roughly 5 times that. This made like $350 million.
Like, yeah, we're approaching almost like a billion, half a billion range there. Like,
Mm.
yeah, 300, 400, yeah, million.
That's wild.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
So the Big Parade obviously really struck a chord, and then Ben-Hur: A Tale of Christ made $9 million, and The
What?
Gold Rush made over $4 million.
Nice.
So basically, a comedy with Charlie Chaplin made about what would have been like probably like 80 something $1 million now.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
those are some of the highlights there, but that Big Parade number is wild to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Making almost $22 million in 1925. And my guess is the budget was only like a couple $1 million.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they
What's it
made
about?
bank.
Do we know what that movie is?
I know that last note said it was a war film,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh,
here's
okay.
a quick synopsis. From 1925, a young American soldier witnesses the horrors of the Great War. And it was a 2.5 hour movie.
Thank God you guys didn't pick that one.
I was waiting for that comment.
And directed by King Vidor.
Apparently, it's streaming for free on Plex. So,
Indeed.
okay.
And Tubi.
TB.
So yes, this 2.5 hour film, which just think you couldn't fit that many showtimes
Nope.
with being 2.5 hours. Except, well, they put like the news and stuff in front of them. So I wonder how much time they had extra crap in front of their movies back then. I wonder if it was 30 goddamn minutes of trailers.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Let's all
So-
go to the lobby and gotta take a piss because we've been sitting here so long. Uh they forgot that little added verse to the song. So there you go. So I hope you all enjoyed that. But we're here to talk about The Freshman. And a nerdy college student will do anything to become popular on campus. This
Mhm.
is streaming on Max because, they're the go-to place for classic films, at least here in the States. And this is directed by Fred C. Newmeyer and Sam Taylor, starring Harold Lloyd, smiling dude named Harold Lamb, aka Speedy. Speedy, what a guy. So let's go around. So, Luke, what were your general thoughts on The Freshman?
I really liked it. I thought the first half was so great, and I was like, "Oh, this is like I'm proper loving it." And the second half kind of slowed down for me, but like overall, I still find myself thinking this is such an endearing and charming movie. And Harold Lloyd, yeah, like there's a different type of comedy to him than Chaplin and or like Buster Keaton, but it just works so well with him, and he is the reason this movie works. So no, I liked it.
How about you, Adam?
Yeah, once again, in total agreement with Luke. I probably didn't like it as much as Luke, but
Hmm.
totally agree with all those points. I thought Harold Lloyd is, yeah, his comedy style is very different to Keaton and Chaplin,
Hmm.
but he just has this look about him. He's quite a charming kind
Yeah.
of
Mm.
character. He's not as, I don't know, dopey or as full on. He's just, I don't know. I can't verbalize it, but fundamentally, yeah, agree with Luke. It's really good. The football scene does go. I was really blown away, but that college football was as big back then as it is now as well. Like it was always massive. Like
Well, it's always been, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
that stadium they were at, was that the Rose Bowl back in 1925 or something? Because that was huge as well. Like that
Hmm.
really surprised me. I was just expecting a couple of bleachers, but not that massive
Hmm.
stadium. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit sidetracked, but yeah, like I did really like it. I thought it was good. For the prequel to The Waterboy, it was a good film.
That is
Need some
true.
high
Yeah.
quality H2O.
Bobby Boucher.
Gatorade. H2O. Gatorade.
Gatorade.
H2O. Water sucks. It really, really sucks. I have watched The Waterboy way too many times and
Yeah,
can
yeah.
probably quote the whole entire movie to you right now. So his mama says. But
Bobby Boucher is the devil. Vicky Valancourt, she's the devil.
whose balls the devil? Mama, use the devil. So there you go. So I have to attest, it's very interesting talking about college football because my school that I work at and went to does not have a football team and has not since 1959. We used to
Mm.
sell
Wow.
shirts that said Rider Football undefeated since 1959. Because we
Cheeky.
have some humor. I'm also going to say one other shirt that used to be sold at our store until they realized how the hell did this get through vetting
Ride or
was
die?
Rider like a Bronc.
Ah, I thought it made it ride or die, like as in you ride or die with the team.
That would have been fun. Or
Yeah,
and like also would have went well together, but no, it was Rider like a Bronc.
like a Bronco.
Wait, am I missing a joke?
Ride her like
Ride
a Bronc. Like a,
her like a Bronc.
What is a bronc? Is it a person?
it's a wild
Well, that's
horse.
also a fun story because what is a Bronc? I know what a Bronco is, but what's
Yeah,
a Bronc?
I'm like,
That's a whole other story. So rider like a Bronc. So just pretend it's a horse and think about that for a second.
oh,
And
okay.
how did that get through vetting? But they did sell it at one point, and I'm sure
Mm,
that shirt's worth a lot of money now. But no,
Hmm.
college football's humongous in the United States. Like it's insane how
yep,
much people care about college football. And so
Yeah,
like that
it is
scene,
insane.
it was really, really captured that energy, and I was really impressed by that. I think if you look at Chaplin
hmm,
and Keaton and Lloyd, Chaplin is playing a creep a lot of the time. Like he's a little weird and creepy because of like the mustache and everything like nothing fits right. But then there's a charm to him, and he's kind of like,
is he just
Hmm.
playing a creep, Shane?
yeah. I I did not know Charlie
I'm
Chaplin, nor did I go
I'm
to
not a
any
creep, but I
parties that
play one
he
on
put on.
TV.
Uh, and
I
then
didn't know
Buster.
Charlie Chaplin, and I did not Google the age of his wives. Let's move on.
Oh, I know the age of his wives, but
Yeah,
cringy face. And
yeah.
then you have Buster Keaton, who's
Stone faced, yeah.
Mr.
Hmm.
Stoneface, and I'm trying to
He's more
say this with the
stunty.
straightest face possible.
Yeah.
Harold Lloyd just
Yeah.
had like a nice smile, and he had like the nerdy glasses on and stuff like that. He was a charming nerd, and I feel like that's a nice energy that he brings to the table. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? You could root for that guy.
I kind of
I
find
was
he was
gonna say,
acting more. He was acting more than the other two, if that makes sense. Like he was acting with his face rather than
yes.
being having a gimmick. Or he wasn't stunty.
Yeah.
He wasn't slapsticky. He was just comedic and charming.
I've been thinking about this, and just based on this movie, and I've seen like one or two other like Harold Lloyd movies. Is it fair to say that he was popular because he popularized and standardized the nerd? Like this is like as
He was an
like
everyman.
Yeah, like not just every man, like but the nerd who wants to be like, oh, like in this movie, he wants to be popular, but he's not. He's just
Mm,
nerdy,
mm.
quirky, right? And I
I'm
think
a
Yeah.
that's the
nerd.
biggest yeah, and that's the thing. And that's the
Nerd.
difference between, Chaplin is not a nerd. He's like a tramp, like he, stumbles himself into a lot of issues and a lot of like weird situations, but he's
Trying
not
to
a nerd.
womanize and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like
No.
that.
And Buster Keaton is like, more of a stunt guy, more of like, I'm gonna be kind of almost like cool while doing stunts.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
Harold
yeah.
Lloyd is like the nerd you cannot help but fall in love with. Like to me, that's his charm.
Someone to root for. He's an
Yeah, yeah,
underdog.
yeah. Yes,
And yeah,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
And him and his dance moves in this. He was spending a lot of time trying to make sure that he got hired as one of the backup dancers for the halftime show. At the football game.
You mean the introduction to his like, convoluted like, handshake?
He was just
Yeah,
waiting
yeah,
there
yeah.
so that he could wind up dancing right next to Serena Williams at the halftime show for Kendrick Lamar. Uh, with his
They not
dance,
like
with
us.
his cool
They not
dance
like us.
moves. So, but no, I like this has, the standard kind of mistaken identity story.
Hmm.
Like
Mm,
there's like a Joe College kind of guy. It's like, hey, that's the cool guy on campus. And
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
thinks it's him because he winds up casually just taking somebody else's limousine, like old timey limousine, because the driver doesn't even turn around at
Yeah.
all to check who's in his
Yeah.
car, which was wild. um but that guy unfortunately was definitely getting fired later. um and then you have that whole entire sequence with the cat
Oh yeah.
and him standing
Yeah.
on top of the
Yeah.
podium and him trying to be cool in front of everybody. I
Getting
would say
hazed.
there is a narrative lull for me,
Mm,
because like it's him in his home,
Hmm.
and then he gets to college.
Yep.
There's the whole thing with like the dean, which
Yep.
like
mm.
for the record, working at a college, I don't think the dean is the most powerful person you're going to be messing around with at college. Like it's a provost or like the president of the college that I feel like movies put so much power in like the dean's hands in movies and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm like, I don't know. Like if the dean of students, I don't think the dean of students has that
But see,
party.
like
Oh,
I
that's
feel
interesting
like
to know. I don't know that.
me neither because yeah, like that's American thing. I don't understand like American football or Donald Trump, but like yeah, like every American school high school movie I've ever seen or TV show, like it's
Yeah.
always like the big number one enemy is the dean.
The
You should
dean,
be
yeah.
afraid of the dean. So I didn't even know, like so I wonder if this movie might have just popularized. Oh yeah, like dean. It's a funny word to say, so might as well
Well,
just make it like a
Oh.
enemy.
and like Dean Warner from Animal House. I'm
Mm,
like, he's the dean of students. Like, get off it, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it's interesting knowing like the actual mechanisms of college structure
Mhm.
and realizing it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think the dean's like there's at least two layers above them.
Yeah.
Um, in this
I
hierarchy
liked
here.
I did like the title card of introducing the dean, where it said he wouldn't marry because he didn't want his wife to call him by his formal name or
Yes.
something. That was
His first name,
oh,
yeah.
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like for no, I think it was supposed to be hilarious, and it actually was for 1925 comedy. I was cracked. That was
Yeah,
great.
Well,
those title cards, yes, like many great jokes are on those. Like
Mm,
just like
they were.
introduction, like and I'm like, oh, that's actually a funny line. Good.
Well, and that's
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
something pretty fresh because
Hmm.
at that point in time, like you really just relied upon physical comedy.
Yep.
But
Yes.
here
Yeah.
it's like you actually had some sharp dialogue
Hmm.
and gags in those cards. I really loved his football tryouts,
Oh
and
yeah.
that he was getting
Yeah.
jacked up. Like he got messed up. I
He was
do
getting
feel like
tackled
there
hard.
is a narrative lull a bit leading into like that dance and stuff like that. But even though like I feel like the dance has an important emotional hook with the
Hmm.
whole like
Mhm.
him realize like people realizing he's not the cool kid on campus.
Yes.
But like
Yeah.
I don't know, I was losing a little bit of interest at that point in the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the football sequence, which that was some really impressive like camera work of like them that had to be on like the back of a truck or something, just flying backwards down
Hmm.
the field as they were running at it, which was really cool. And obviously, it was like the big game, and there was tons of physical comedy, and football can be physical comedy,
Hmm.
depending on what your sense of humor is. Just watching
Mhm.
people get like wrecked. I certainly was laughing a lot watching the Super Bowl, watching Patrick Mahomes get his ass kicked. But that's just me. But probably one of the weak. Like, did I really care about this romance?
Not really.
Mm.
Probably not. But like, I was here for the humor and the Harold Lloyd of it all, and I think that was a lot of the fun that went into it for sure.
Like when you mentioned the football, or sorry, the ball scene earlier, I just want to ask, uh, am I dumb? Because like I thought the premise of the movie is not he was never cool. They were always laughing, not with him, but big at him. So
Yeah.
like even
Yeah.
the ball scene, like he wasn't cool at the ball. He was trying to be cool, and then people around him like, oh yeah, look at his dumbass. And then that's
Well,
why like
and it was he had the realization
yeah,
that
yeah, no, yeah,
he was the
no,
butt of the joke, and
yes,
he's not the he thought that people thought he was the cool
yes,
kid.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah, because they made him believe that at the hazing at the start when he was
correct.
giving that speech and that, right? And yeah,
Yes.
because I was a
And
bit
then like
confused
he
by
was
that too. It's like,
buying, yeah, and he
yeah,
was buying people with like ice creams, and that's why like Speedy, like what was it, Speedy Spender or something like that. And I'm like, oh, dude, don't
He
do
yes,
love
that.
yeah,
alliteration.
Yeah. But
yeah.
like when you mentioned the ball scenes, Shane, that was
Mhm.
exactly like half of it worked well, but in the second half, I feel like it just dragged a bit on too long. Like with the with the tailor who was tailoring his suit as he went along,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where the movie kind of split for me. Where I'm like, this ballroom scene was probably like 20 minutes, and like
And
the
this
second
movie's an
half
hour
of
and
that,
17 minutes, so
yes,
like there's a
Yeah.
huge chunk
yeah, and
of the
then like
runtime.
the second half of that is just basically the punchline is like, oh, he finally understands he's the butt of the joke, and then we get
Yep.
the big football game, which I'll be honest, I'm not an American, so I don't understand American football, and I do understand how it's played. I just don't care, so I wasn't as invested. And again, like the love story, like as you pointed out, Shane, it's like, well, she falls for him immediately. Like oh, they sit
Mm.
in on next to each other on a train. They do the same
Mhm.
crossword puzzle by accident or something, and it's like, yeah, they meant to be together. That's why they're gonna form a couple, and that's it. So there's not much to root for.
Mm.
Uh,
It's like it's what you expect out of like an early
yeah.
like comedy romance.
Hmm.
It's just like there's not a ton of depth to it, and you're just kind of like, well,
Yeah.
they had to have a female character in here that
Yes.
you got to show our hero actually attracts women because that has to be a requirement. Um,
And
in a
somebody
film
who
like
actually
this,
roots for him, like
yeah,
genuinely, and she even
Yeah. Yeah.
stands up for him when he's not there, like in front of like all those jerks and all that. So that was nice.
the actress's name's Jobina. Jobina
Bean.
Ralston plays Peggy. I
Nice.
also like some of the credits. The college cad. That's probably my favorite. And that has morphed into the college Chad for
Mm.
sure today. We have the
Fun.
college hero, the college belle, the college tailor, and the football coach. So, you
Nice
know,
and straightforward. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
We know where everybody's
Keep it
coming
simple.
from with this one.
We're making 50 movies this week. We don't have time to name people. That's the way it worked, right?
What do you do
It's
in this
like
movie? I'm the coach. Okay, you're the coach.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm
You don't
I'm the
need a name.
college tailor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, you don't need a name. You're Taylor. Boom, boom, go.
we weren't quite at the point where we could have made jokes where the football coach's name was actually Coach, the tailor's name was Taylor,
yeah.
and that the
Yeah.
dean's name was actually Dean.
Yeah.
Isn't that
But
already in a movie? Dean? That's insane.
I'm sure it is, and
It
if
probably.
it isn't,
absolutely is.
then I'm
Yeah.
disappointed in humanity that you couldn't find that joke for the past 100 years.
Yeah.
But see, speaking of the coach, oh sorry, I'm gonna go.
No. It's all right. I'm just going to rack my brain for probably the next week figuring out where that's from. Dean.
I was just gonna mention, speaking of the coach, that Brad brought back a memory of another title card when we got introduced to the coach, and the title card was like, he's such a manly man, and like he shaves using a blowtorch, and I'm like, damn, okay. Again, for 1925, those title cards, because it used to be just like exposition, right? This is
Yeah.
what happens in between scenes, and this is what our main hero is doing now. And they actually have jokes. Like they actually had decent jokes. And I was like, that's a nice change. And Harold Lloyd is somebody he's so easy to root for. Like it's so he felt very genuine. He felt very sweet, and that's why I think you're to your point, Adam. I think like he is acting more than
Hmm.
Chaplin and Buster at that very time.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Like he actually felt like a fully fleshed out human being
Mm-hmm.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of experience that we could actually buy into. And
Yeah.
he's not like a gimmick.
No.
The
Yeah.
tramp's a gimmick.
No, no.
Stone face Buster Keaton is a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
This like Speedy felt like an actual character for us to
Yeah, that's why I think I gelled with this one more than some of the others we've watched in previous episodes. Is that this one has a bit more of a story and a through line to it, and a bit more of a purpose, because of
Mhm.
it has a character
Mm-hmm.
worth watching, where some of those others haven't.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Do we have any other thoughts on the freshman?
I like
Starring
the hat
Matthew Broderick
touchdown.
and
My,
Marlon
my
Brando.
one my one real my one real laugh out loud moment was the hat touchdown when he just ran a hat ran a touchdown
Oh
with a
yeah.
hat. I don't know, it was just a bit of shock value because I didn't realize he had a hat. And I was
Oh.
also shocked by the size of the actual football. Football was huge. It was like a rugby ball that we use in Australia for
Mm-hmm.
rugby. Like it was massive.
I just so being the American here who actually regularly watches American football, the moment where
I
he's
know they're
running
not
for a
that big
touch,
now.
he's running for the touchdown and just drops it on the 1 yard line.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
dang
Saw
it.
that, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, if that was Philly,
Well,
you'd
in
never
his
let that
defense,
go.
he heard the whistle. Like he heard the whistle, so he put down the ball because that's what he was he was
It
told
was told,
before.
yeah. Mm.
Except that whistle was 1 minute, left in the game. So
You gotta get across the goal line. You gotta get it there.
Mm.
Because I've seen players taunting like assholes
mhm.
who like slam the ball down before they even get across the end zone and then it doesn't count. It's
Mm.
like you're a jackass. Nice
Mm.
Early
job.
cele early celebrations. You see a lot in athletics where these people celebrate early and lose the race because it
Yeah.
slows them down. It's yeah.
Yep. I like the speaking of the game, I like the gag with the balloons where they pop up the balloons in the air, somebody and then they throw the ball to Harold, and then suddenly he just sees the balloons like what 5 what, and just like it hits him on the head. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, this was a charming little film. I
It is.
enjoyed it for sure.
Mm. Yep.
And we'll be taking things in a bit of a different direction for next episode as we
Oh yeah.
get into 1926, A Page of Madness, a Japanese horror drama coming your
Yeah.
way. Is this our first like
Foreign?
horror?
Might be our
Or I
first
guess
foreign. Oh
technically
no,
we
it's not. It's not the first foreign film. Sorry.
I was gonna say
we
technically Phantom Carriage might
Yeah. Yeah.
classify
Phantom
as
Carriage
horror.
was foreign. Yep.
and also our
Also foreign.
first episode we did was technically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so I'm assuming that would
Oh
also
yeah.
be a horror
Was that
film.
our first episode?
Together, yep.
I still remember
Back
the
in 1913.
scary Mr. Hyde was just squatting while he's walking through the street. That's what made him scary as he's hunched over walking. That was the horror aspect. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that episode. Oh, well, we didn't really talk about this, but that episode premiered March 7th, 2024.
Is this our first year?
Yeah,
Damn.
we have gone
Amazing.
through a whole entire
Happy
year.
anniversary, guys. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to all of you.
Look at us.
Amazing.
Well, you're not looking at us, but you can hear us and hear us celebrating our 1 year anniversary
It's like the
of doing this
meme. Look at
podcast
us.
together.
Look at us. Who would have thought? Not me. Like Paul Rudd, right? Look at us. Oh, look at us.
Well, and we're just like, like like a year from now, we're gonna finally get to sound pictures, and we're
Hmm.
almost there. So look it
Almost.
That's
up.
whiz past, isn't it? That actually feels like it's whiz past. We're
Hmm.
only about 6 years off modern times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There you go. Well, Luke and Adam, thank you as always for coming on and talking movies with me.
Always a
Yeah, thanks,
blast.
man. Yeah, love it. Cheers.
And thank all of you out there for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. Have you checked out any Howard Lloyd films? Who is your favorite go-to silent era comedian? Is it indeed Charlie Chaplin? Is it Buster Keaton? Or did you find a new one in The Freshman with Harold Lloyd? Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We're ever expanding here at the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or you have an idea for your own, please make sure to reach out and see what we can do to have you join the SBDM crew. And if you like the logo, this is from my buddy Joe, and he does a lot of great work. And he has an Etsy store, so you could go check that out. If you do like American football, he's making a whole bunch of football and hockey shirts if you're interested. So there you go. We like to claim that we have four major sports. One of them is not ours, hockey. But we'll take it anyway. And most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Cinematic Wasteland here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.